Hi grades 4, this is Miss David. So today we will be looking at learning about finding the volume of a cuboid. Now if you remember what's a cuboid, we learned in the last lesson that it's basically a rectangular prism, okay? So this is a cuboid, okay? So we are going to look at the end of this video, you will be working on exercise 50. And in your textbooks, I am following pages 93 all the way to 96. So these are the pages that will help you understand this video and help you do exercise 50 in your workbooks. Okay, so today we are looking at how we find the volume of a cuboid. And if you remember in our previous lessons, we learned about volume. So volume is basically how much space a cube or a square, each of these tiny cubes, how much space are they taking? And we found the volume by counting each cube, right? So we went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then we knew 8 on this side and 8 on this side. So we knew the volume of this cube or this cuboid will be 16, right? 16 cubes, right? Or 16 cubic units or 16 cubic centimeters. So that's what we found out. Today we are going to talk about, well, what if we do not have the time to actually go on and count all of these, each single one of these? So how do we find the volume of this without actually having to count? And there is an easier way to do that. So instead of going about counting everything, in math, there's a formula which if we memorize, it's easy to do math. So the formula for finding out the volume of a cuboid without actually counting each and every single cube is multiply the length to width and to height. So length times width times height. Okay, that's the formula for us to know how do we find the volume of a cuboid. Okay, so let's get started and let's have some examples. So let's say this, right? So it's a cube, it's a cuboid. And how many cubes are there all together? Well, I am not going to count that, but I know that if I multiply my length to my width to my height, I would be able to find out. So here we go. I have 4 for my length. I will go with 4, right? 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I know that my length would be 4. Then I need to multiply that to width. So now I know that my width is, if I look over here, it's 1, 2, right? So it's 2. So length was 4, width is 2. So I'm going to multiply my 4 to my 2. Now what's the height? Well, the height is 1 because this is only one layer, right? So I am going to say 4 times 2 times 1. That will be my answer. So that's going to give me my volume. So let's go ahead and multiply these, okay? So 4 times 2 gives me 8, and 8 times 1 gives me 8. So I didn't even go about counting all of these, but let's see if we are correct. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I got my 8, right? I multiplied my length to my width to my height. And I got my answer, right? Now let's see, instead of just one height, what if I added another layer to this cuboid and I had 2 layers? So instead of having just one like this, now I added another layer to it. So let's go ahead and write down our numbers again. Length times width times height. So I would say my length stays the same, right? because it's still 4. So I would write 4. I know that my width hasn't changed either. It's still 2, right? Still 2. However, my height has changed, right? Now instead of 1 layer, I have 2 layers. So my height should be 2, right? So I'm gonna multiply my 4 times 2 times 2 again. 4 times 2 gives me 8, and 8 times 2 gives me, that's right, it gives me 16. So my height or my volume is 16. For this cuboid, for this rectangular prism, my volume is 16. Excuse me. Okay. Now let's say I add another layer to this one so that my height is 1 more layer, right? So look at this. I added 1 more layer to this cuboid. So instead of 2, now I have 3 layers. What do you think needs to happen? Are my numbers going to change when I multiply all these? Quickly say it. If you know it, quickly say it. Pause the video and you can find it out. Okay, what would be the volume of this cuboid? Is something going to change? Absolutely. So let's go ahead and write down our length times width times height. So my numbers would be, again, my length stays the same. It's still 1, 2, 3, 4. Is my width going to change? Nope, I still have 2. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do 2 here. Is my height going to change? Absolutely yes, because I added another layer. There's another layer to it. So that means my height, yes, my height is going to be 3 instead of 2. So I am going to go ahead and I am going to multiply my numbers. So length times width times height equals volume of this cuboid. So let's go ahead. So 4 times 2 gives me 8. 8 times 3 gives me 24. So that means what's the number of cubes in this cuboid? In this cuboid, we have 24 cubes. So the volume of this cuboid is 24. Does that make sense? So that's what we need to do for this lesson. Now on page, I want you to open up your textbooks to page 93 explains just what I explained to you, okay? So it's explaining the width of this cuboid, it's explaining its height and its volume, okay? So, sorry, length, width, height, and volume, okay? Now, they're showing you volume of a cuboid equals length times width times height. So that's what you need to know for this lesson. Now, you may be wondering, Miss David, does it matter which order we multiply it in? It really doesn't matter, okay? So that the order which we multiply the sides, for example, take as the first layer does not matter. For example, if you want to look at the top layer or the second one or the last one, it doesn't matter. You can take your length from this one, or you can take your length from this one, or you can take your length from this one. You can take your width from this one, or this way, or this way. It really doesn't matter, okay? So that's what you need to remember. It could be the layer on one side, or the front side, or okay? So the bottom one, it doesn't really matter. All we need to remember is, the main thing we need to remember is length times width times height. That's what we need to remember. Okay, so you're multiplying 3 numbers: the number of layers, its width, and its length. That's what you need to remember. Okay, and it is also, in case you forget, it is mentioned on page 93 of your textbook. Now let's flip to page 94. And page 94 shows us exactly what I just did with you guys. And you're going to do this task, okay? So it's telling you the following cuboids are made up of 1 centimeter cubes. Find the length, width, height, and volume of each cuboid. So exactly what I just did by showing you guys these, you can, grades 4, you can, as I said before, you can use your younger siblings' blocks or Lego pieces to create these and create your own cuboids, okay? So it's very much fun. So you can do that. And you're going to finish this page. Okay, does that make sense? So on that note, we are going to end our lesson here. And we are going to work on exercise 50. And I will see you next time in exercise 51. Have a very nice day. Bye.